So we're here today talking with John Blevins about his guitar teaching. John is a guitar teacher on FindaGuitarTeacher.com. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So maybe we could start by just hearing about where you teach, what part of the country are you in, and what part of the city where you are.
Well, I live in Brooklyn, New York, and so I teach mostly in Brooklyn, New York. I have several students in Manhattan as well, so basically around the New York City area.
Understood. And do you travel to your students' homes and or do they come to you? How do you usually handle that?
Well, it's kind of a mix of both. I would say the majority right now, I actually travel to their homes. Have a lot of students on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But then I have a studio in my apartment, so I have a lot of students, especially around the neighborhood in Brooklyn, in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, to be more specific, interested in coming here.
Yes.
And I have guitars too, so a lot of times, they can just show up, and it's pretty easy for them to come here. So.
Makes sense. I'm sure people appreciate that convenience.
Yes.
And do you find that you teach more adults or more children, or is it a pretty even mix?
Well, at the moment, it seems to be a pretty even mix.
Mm-hmm.
I think my youngest student is 7 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and my oldest is 65.
Yeah.
So it's a wide range. I think I have a couple students in their 30s as well. And so that being said, it's a wide range of playing ability too. Just very beginner to kind of quite advanced as well.
Understood. And how would you describe the guitar teaching climate where you are? Do you find that there are a lot of people interested in learning to play guitar?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely so. It's kind of endless.
Yeah.
People say everybody wants to learn to play guitar. It's very much true. If I go out and post flyers in the neighborhood, definitely I'll speak with at least 4 or 5 people just on on an hour walk that are just, oh, you play guitar, you teach guitar, that's great.
Uh-huh.
They're interested, and so I'm always being asked about it. Even having your guitar on the subway, you get asked, oh, you teach guitar,
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, it's something everybody's interested in. Everyone's attracted to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so can you tell us also a little bit about your overall approach to teaching? In very simple terms, what do you tend to focus on when you teach a student?
Well, I guess right off the bat, I'm interested in seeing what the student is interested in themselves. I want to know why they're interested in guitar, what they want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
If I can tailor the lessons to things that are interesting to the student, music that's interesting to the student, chances are they're going to practice more, they're going to get more out of it, and we'll have more fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in general, I kind of try to see if the students are interested in maybe learning to read music, or maybe what songs or artists they're specifically interested in, and so we can kind of set some goals based on that. If they have no desire to read music, maybe we won't dive right into that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is pretty helpful for most students at some point to start to learn to read tablature or music, at the guitar or at any instrument. So at some point, that always gets thrown in there. We start doing a few things here and there. But I like to pick a few songs, mostly, that the student likes. It doesn't even have to have guitar in it. It's helpful, obviously, if it does have a lot of guitar in it. But, it could be any song. And just having that as a goal for the student to learn, I think, really keeps them engaged and keeps them interested in learning and practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that kind of in a nutshell sums it
Cool.
up.
And what styles of music do you find that people are most interested in learning?
I think primarily, at least with guitar, primarily rock and folk and pop music, I think, is
Mm-hmm.
probably like the top three genres for that. Some students are interested in doing classical or jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I'm not as experienced as a classical guitarist. I mostly play steel string acoustic and electric. I am also a jazz trumpet player by degree, I guess. So I have a lot of jazz improvisation, experience and training, and so I do some kind of lead guitar improvisation lessons with some of the more advanced students.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems like learning some Beatles songs or some Bob Dylan or something, that's kind of the most attractive thing to most of my students.
Sure, the classics.
Yeah.
Understood. And do you also offer Skype lessons?
I do. I do.
Sure.
Right now, this seems to be working fairly well. So,
Yes. Sure. Sure.
yeah, it's a good way to do it.
That's great. Can you tell us also a little bit more about your background? You mentioned that you played trumpet.
Yes, I actually went to Indiana University and studied jazz trumpet and classical trumpet there. And then after I moved to New York City, after a few years, I decided to finish and do my master's at New York University, which was also in jazz trumpet. But one thing that attracted me about going there was that they needed an adjunct guitar professor. So I ended up, I've played guitar the same, probably started when I was about 10 years old. So I've played guitar as long as I've played trumpet, and it just so happened that my degrees, I focused on trumpet a little more and played guitar for fun. And also, I write a lot of music, so I write more at the guitar maybe than trumpet. But when I got to NYU for my master's, I probably played more guitar than trumpet there. I was teaching so much and had a lot of non-music major students, undergraduates there. So that's kind of my background there.
Yes.
Professionally, as a performer, I mostly play trumpet. Like I said, I write a lot of the music, a lot of the original music for my groups on the guitar. But it's very jazz oriented, very technical, and so there's a few guys that they play really well, and I enjoy playing with them. So I have a few guitarists that work in the bands as well.
Yes.
But as a performer on guitar, I probably am drawn to more folk music myself than jazz. So
Understood. And can you tell us a little bit about your scheduling options and your fees that you offer for your lessons?
Yes. As far as scheduling, I like to keep it as flexible as possible. I try to keep pretty much any time available that will work for the students. That being said, it's always better, I found, at least in my experience, to have some kind of set time, what we can depend on, as opposed to just rescheduling every week. It becomes kind of difficult to actually meet. So, and also traveling to my students' homes, I'm working around their schedules a little bit more. As far as teaching the lessons in my own home, in my own studio here, daytime is usually better, kind of a 9 to 5 schedule. But the evenings can work as well. So it's pretty flexible as far as that goes. As for my rates, I typically charge $60 per hour. If I'm traveling to the students' homes, that's kind of the going rate. Occasionally, I'll do shorter lessons, like a 30-minute lesson, and I'll do that for $40. And then if I go longer, some students will do an hour and a half or 2 hours, and so I'll kind of discount the rate, $80 and $100. Respectively. So I would say most students go with the $60 per hour per week. And that's if I'm traveling to the students' homes. A lot of times, if they're coming to my home, it's definitely more convenient for me. So I'll do a bit of a discount. We'll do $50 an hour for that. And then all that being said, it's actually very helpful, I think, for me and the students to offer like a package of lessons. But a lot of times, especially new students, will pay for like a package of 4 lessons, and I'll give a discount for that. So I think we just did one student sign up. He did $200 for 4 lessons, and so it's a bit of a discount on my normal hourly rate when I'm traveling. I feel like that kind of gets us a better start. We're set. We're going to meet 4 times.
Yes.
At least. And, this kind of gets the ball rolling a little bit.
Yeah, the more committed a student can be, the more they're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Cool. And can you tell us a little bit about your equipment? I noticed you have a guitar there, an acoustic guitar. Can you tell us about the kind of equipment you use when you teach and just in general about it?
This is typically the guitar I bring and teach with. It is a Taka, which is kind of an unknown Japanese brand. This was actually my great uncle's. It was given to me, and given to me by my grandpa, who had it at that point. I had a setup done recently at 30th Street Guitars here in the city, and Matt over there was kind of surprised by it. He hadn't really heard of the brand. He said it was about the late 60s Japanese make.
Yes.
and seem to really like the sound, and so do I.
Sure. So is that your main guitar?
That's my main guitar,
Sure.
or this is my main guitar, and I also have a Godin SD as an electric,
Yes.
and a Fender Deluxe, which I like to play through if we're doing electric.
The Fender Deluxe Reverb amp.
Yes. Yep.
Understood. Yes. Cool. And do you offer your students guidance about purchasing their own equipment?
Yes, definitely. Especially with my younger students,
Yes.
you know, sometimes just depending on their size, they need a smaller guitar just so it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I recommend the Baby Taylor.
Yes.
It's about a half-size guitar, and it's comfortable for me to play, but it's definitely more comfortable for the younger students, just to get their arms around it and have it be
Makes
a little.
sense. Sure. And we'd love to hear you play something. Can you show us an example of your playing?
Yeah, sure. I'll play some Paul Simon here.
Sounds good. Whenever you're ready.
Sure.
That was beautiful. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, a little abbreviated version of April Come She Will.
Sounds great. Well, listen, it's been great to hear all about your teaching, and we look forward to seeing you on Find a Guitar Teacher in the future.
Great. Thanks for having me.